Okay, so if you look up on a clear winter night, you're probably going to spot this bright, five-sided shape made of stars. That's Auriga, the Charioteer. But here's the thing. This isn't just any old constellation. It's got this secret, right? It's a really weird mashup of two totally different stories that just don't seem to fit. So, are you ready to help me solve this mystery? All right, so here's the puzzle. For centuries, we've looked at Auriga and seen a mighty charioteer. But if you look really close at the old star maps, he's not just driving a chariot. Nope. He's also cuddling a goat and her little baby goats, the kids, a warrior and a farm animal, just hanging out together in the stars. How on earth did that happen? So yeah, that's the big question we're going to tackle. How did this, high-tech charioteer and this humble goat somehow merge into one single picture in our night sky? The answer is going to take us on a pretty wild ride through ancient myths and some forgotten history. So let's start with the charioteer part of the story. Okay, let's dive into the first part of this puzzle, the tale of the first chariot. Our journey kicks off in ancient Athens with a myth that's basically as old as the city itself. See, the story of the charioteer is all tangled up with Athenian history, and it's all about a legendary king who totally changed the game. So this story is all about a guy named Erichthonius, and his origin story is, wow. He was born from a god and the earth itself. No big deal, right? He was raised in secret by Athena, the goddess of wisdom, and he grew up to be a great king of Athens. But his real claim to fame, his true legacy, was an invention that completely revolutionized his world: the four-horse chariot. And because this was such a huge deal, the gods put him up in the stars forever as Auriga, the OG charioteer. Now, there is another story, a much more tragic one, about a young guy named Hippolytus who died in a pretty awful chariot crash. But look, whether it was the celebrated inventor or the tragic hero, the charioteer part is pretty solid. What still makes no sense, though, is the goat. So where did the goat come from? Well, to figure that out, we've got to go even further back in time. All right, time for part 2, the legacy of the goat star. To find where this goat came from, we have to dig way deeper, past the Greek myths we all know, and into much, much older history. And here's the twist. It turns out the goat wasn't just tacked onto the charioteer. It was the other way around. The charioteer was added to the goat. This timeline pretty much tells the whole story. Seriously, forget the charioteer for a second. Long before the Greeks were even on the scene, people in Mesopotamia looked up and saw a shepherd's crook in these stars. The ancient Bedouins, they saw a whole herd of goats. Even the early Greeks, before all the chariot stories, called it capra, which just means the goat. So yeah, the charioteer was actually the new kid on the block, a brand new story that got layered right on top of a much, much older one. Okay, so to really get how the Greeks managed to blend these two totally different stories, we need to understand a quick term: asterism. All it is really is a popular, recognizable pattern of stars that's smaller than a whole constellation. The most famous example is the Big Dipper, right? It's part of the bigger constellation, Ursa Major. And it turns out, Auriga has a really famous asterism of its own. And this is the brilliant part. This is how they pulled it off. Inside Auriga, there's this little star pattern, the asterism, and it's called the Kids. Its brightest star is Capella, which literally means the little goat. So the Greeks, they didn't want to just erase this ancient goat story that had been around forever, so they wove it into their own myths. They decided the goat was Amalthea, the mythical goat who nursed the baby Zeus. And then, they just stuck this ancient goat symbol right into the arms of their new hero, the charioteer. And boom. Just like that, two completely different stories became one. Mystery solved. Okay, so the stories we tell about the stars are amazing, but they're really just the beginning. Today, we've got telescopes that can see so much further than ancient myths could ever reach. And when we point them at Auriga with our modern eyes, well, what we find is a universe that's even more mind-blowing and strange than our ancestors could have ever dreamed of. It's basically a laboratory in the sky, and we're just starting to unlock its secrets. So now that we know the stories that humans told, what does science tell us is actually up there? Let's peel back those layers of myth and see what's really going on in Auriga. What kind of strange and beautiful secrets is the charioteer's home hiding? So it turns out Auriga is an absolute hotspot for some seriously weird star systems. Just look at this. You've got Beta Aurigae, that's two nearly identical stars that are locked in this frantic dance, whipping around each other in less than 4 days.
Then there's Zeta Aurigae, which is kind of a cosmic odd couple, a huge, bright, giant star that keeps getting blocked from our view by its tiny, hot little blue companion. But the real showstopper, the one that really blows astronomers' minds, is Epsilon Aurigae.
Yeah, 27 years. I mean, just try to wrap your head around that scale. Epsilon Aurigae is this star that literally disappears from our sight for almost 2 years at a time. It gets blocked by some mysterious companion, but the entire cycle, this whole cosmic dance, takes an incredible 27 years to finish. So what in the world is hiding it? Well, astronomers think it's another star that's completely wrapped up in this huge swirling disk of dust. It's a true cosmic enigma.
But wait, there's more. Auriga's treasures don't stop with weird stars. If you grab a decent pair of binoculars, you can actually go sightseeing. You can visit 3 glittering star cities: M36, M37, and M38. These are what we call open star clusters, just sparkling collections of young, bright stars, all thousands of light years away. And if you've got a good telescope, you might find a little celestial jewel, IC 2149, a tiny planetary nebula, which is basically the beautiful glowing ghost of a star that died a long, long time ago. Auriga is also where a truly groundbreaking discovery was made. Back in 2007, astronomers found something that was, frankly, incredible: a planet orbiting a white dwarf. And a white dwarf is the tiny, super dense corpse left over when a star like our sun dies. This was a huge deal. I mean, this was the first time we had proof that planets could actually survive the fiery death of their parent star. It's kind of a little sign of hope for what might happen in our own solar system way, way down the road. And just when you think you've grasped the scale, think again. Auriga has one more secret to share. If you point a really powerful telescope in its direction, you're not just looking at stars inside our own galaxy anymore. No, you're looking across 5.4 times billion light years. You're seeing a colossal gathering of entire galaxies, a cluster called MAX 0717. You're literally looking back in time, seeing a universe that was still young when our own planet was just starting to form. It's just mind-blowing. All right, so we've journeyed through ancient myths and we've traveled across billions of light years. Now it's your turn. Let's bring this whole story right back home and figure out how you can find Auriga in your own night sky. And believe me, it's a lot easier than you might think. So here's how you do it. Finding Auriga is actually pretty easy. Just head outside on a clear night and look for a big, obvious 5-sided shape, a pentagon. If you need a landmark, you can use the Little Dipper as your guide. Just find the 2 stars at the very end of its handle and draw a line out from them. That'll point you right to it. And the brightest star in that pentagon? That's Capella, our old friend, the goat star. So what is Auriga in the end? Is it a storybook of ancient myths or a laboratory full of cosmic wonders? The beautiful thing is, it's both. It's this perfect reminder that we are all storytellers, just looking up at the same stars, trying to figure out our place in this huge universe. So I really hope you do this. Tonight, go outside. Find that pentagon in the sky. And when you look up, remember the charioteer, remember the goat, and remember all the endless mysteries that are still up there, just waiting to be discovered. The universe is always telling a story. All you have to do is listen.